I would like to say good afternoon, everyone. I would like to welcome you to GDI Consulting's webinar on AE Support Services IDIQs for the U.S. Army's Corps of Engineers Mobile District. This webinar actually covers two IDIQs. My name is Larry Weiss, and I'm a Senior Business Development Manager at GDI Consulting. I'm also joined with Ab Van, who heads our Capture and Proposal Development Department, and he'll be going through most of the presentation. Again, we will go into some details, but we'll be able to finish certainly within an hour. Just some housekeeping rules. The webinar is being recorded, and there's a link to the recording that will be sent to you within 24 hours. We're going to hold an actual Q&A session at the end, but if you want to send us questions, you can do it in the chat system to the right of your window, and hopefully we'll be able to address them all at that time. If we run out of time, we'll get back to you. You can also download the presentation under the link File on the right-hand panel on your window. By the way, if you click on the three buttons to the right of the presentation, it enlarges the screen to your whole computer, and if you want to go back, just hit it again. And if you do get disconnected, you can lose the connection and want to get reconnected again. So let's go into it. Let me tell you about a little bit about GDI Consulting. We have been around 10 years. By the way, we're not part of GDIT. Some people ask. We've had a very, very good run on growth, an 81% win rate, and plenty of experience. 210 wins alone in 2018, which accounted for $6.2 billion. Now, the reason we have such a good win rate is we're pretty selective, and we only want to bid with you if we think you have a good chance of winning. I've been around in the federal contracting business for a number of years, and I can tell you one thing is absolutely true. Even if you have a good company, even if you have good past performance, if your proposal doesn't look right, if it doesn't address what the government wants from the proposal, then you're not going to win. Just remember, the government loves competition, but they really want to award to people that they trust and they think have a grasp of what they want. Or what the government is asking for. So as we go through that, you'll see that we have a pretty good grasp of what the Corps of Engineers wants here. And by the way, we're not just saying we've had success. These are some of the things we've had success with. As you can see, a lot of DOD here, including the Army. And even though the federal government is one big organization, every agency, every part of the Army has their own way of doing things. And your chances of success will go up enormously if you understand the way that agency, or in this case, the Corps of Engineers, wants their procurement and what they're asking for. So you can read through these, and I think this list is not even as updated as what it could be. So we've had a lot of success. And as Ab will tell you, there's some things we can advise you not to go after if we think it's either not qualified or somebody else has a lock on it. So again, if you have questions, if you have any issues, put them in the chat line. We'll try to get to it. So what we're going to do today is we're going to talk about the focus of the procurement, the highlights, the scope, how the proposals needs to be structured, how they're going to evaluate it. Very important. What's the avenue for partnering? What is a win strategy? And then you have questions, we'll try to answer them. So without further ado, Ab, why don't you take over? I'll give you the next slide.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. This is Ab Van. I head our Capture and Proposal Development Department, and I'm going to go through these two IDIQs. They're very similar, so we decided to actually cover both of them, even though the scope is a little bit different, but essentially the way that you need to prepare the proposals and go after them is pretty similar. The first one is the USACE South Atlantic Division Mobile District AE Services for its planning and environmental division. This is essentially to support the military civil works and support to other programs that they're going to go after. This one, we will be calling this 0021 based on its solicitation number throughout this webinar. This is out and it's ready to be prepared. I mean, the proposal needs to be submitted by November. We will go over the dates later. The next one, which is 0034, they actually did issue it. It's for military design and construction programs for the same district. The first one is essentially more on the environmental side of it, planning and environmental, and this one is more on the design and construction program. The 0034 did come out, but they recently actually made it back into draft mode. So it is actually a pre-solicitation. You should note that, be prepared for it, but it's not the final. They're going to announce the final and probably change the final date on it as well. But essentially, they're very similar to each other. That's why we're covering them. Okay, some general details, highlights of these two. The 0021, as the title reads, AE services to support the USACE SAD Mobile Districts Planning and Environmental Division for Military, Civil Works, and support for other programs. Solicitation number is 0021. Now, the second one is 0034. As I mentioned, it's draft mode. It's AE services to support the Mobile District Military Design and Construction Program. Both of them are from the Mobile District of the South Atlantic Division of the U.S. Corps of Engineers. Dates. The solicitation was issued on 17th of September for 0021 and 25th of September for 0034. For 0021, the due date is 13th of November, so nearly 2 months from the date of issuance. For 0034, it's still, as I said, in draft mode. And be aware that the cutoff date for questions is 24th of October. So you need to submit any questions that you might have to the Corps of Engineers before that date. Both of them are partial small business. In other words, both unrestricted and small businesses can participate. If you want to be considered small business, you must be small under 541330, the NAICS code. Now, for 0021, there are going to be 12 awards, 9 to the unrestricted and 3 to the small business. For 0034, there are going to be 16 awards, 8 to the unrestricted and 8 to the small business. So that's the award planning that they have so far. The ceiling, as far as the contract amount is concerned, is 250 million, 249 million actually, for each of them. Although they have mentioned that for 0021, they're going to give 209 million to large businesses and the rest of it to the 3 small businesses. They haven't mentioned any division of the contract amount for 0034. Both of them are a 5-year period of performance, and they cover essentially the mobile district area as far as the location of the projects that we'll be doing. Okay, so I should mention before we go into the proposal structure that we decided to concentrate this webinar on the proposal development side, as both of these are more or less out. We could actually go into the capture side and try to explain who the competitors are and the strengths, and perhaps that can be done, or you can contact us and we can provide you questions on that. But due to the time constraints, we decided to just concentrate on the proposal side, the proposal preparation side here. Okay, so the structure of the proposal is going to be based on the SF330, which all design companies are familiar with, and it's a regulation that you need to provide proposals in that. And there's a part one, part two. Part one, there's a page limit count of 60 pages for it, for 0021, and for 0034, that's 50 pages. And then for both IDIQs, part two is 30 pages. So that's the page count limit that you need to adhere to. And you'll see that you need to cover all the tabs, A, B, C, D, and E, which cover the SF330's different part one and part two sections. Okay, now, as they're very specific about the way they're going to evaluate those parts in SF330, we have structured the rest of this based on the evaluation factors. They're having 7 evaluation factors. The 7th one is just a tiebreaker. So the 7th one, which is the small business and SDB participation, they're not going to evaluate unless there's a tie between two companies and they want to somehow decide between them. So it's essentially the first 6 factors that we need to cover, and they're listed in the order of importance as far as evaluation is concerned. So factor 1, professional qualification, in other words, the key personnel, is the most important factor. And after that comes factor 2, specialized experience, and so on. So this is listed in the order of importance, which tells us where actually we should concentrate and focus our efforts to prepare the proposal. And we'll go into detail for each of these factors as we go on. Okay, factor 1 has 2 parts. Part A, which is the resumes of the key personnel. The resumes can't be more than 1 page, which is usual in SF330. You must state all the professional registrations, licensures, and certifications with the numbers and expiration dates. Don't forget that. Just giving the license by itself, saying that this key personnel has the license, is not enough. You must give the number and the expiration date. And also, you must remember that in section D, there's an org chart that you need to provide. You must enter these key personnel into that org chart. So these must correlate. You can't put in someone there who is not listed here. Now, these guys, or gals, the key personnel that you're presenting must have at least a bachelor's degree with a major in the specific field of study and 5 years of project experience in their discipline. So I'm going to go over the disciplines, but the key personnel that you're going to provide must have at least 5 years of experience in that discipline. Remember, this is factor 1, which is the most important factor. So you really need to make sure that all these requirements are adhered to. So 5 years of experience, don't forget that, in that discipline. And then these key personnel must cover all the required disciplines. So make sure that the selection of the key personnel that you put in covers the entire disciplines that the RFP is going after. And I'm going to list that on the next slide so you know which disciplines to cover. Okay, so here is the list of disciplines and key personnel, and I'll explain why there is a distinction. Program manager, project manager, biologist, ecologist, chemist, architect, civil engineer, coastal engineer, environmental engineer, electrical engineer, and so on. Now, the reason there's a differentiation is that this is not the list of all the key personnel that you need. This is the list of the disciplines that you need. But you might have one key personnel covering 3 of these disciplines. The important thing is that whoever you might list, say, 10 key personnel that cover all these 18 disciplines. But that's the important factor. You need to cover all 18 different disciplines. But as I said, one person might be covering multiple disciplines, which you need to make sure that you put that down. So that's the disciplines or areas that your key personnel must cover. This is under 0021, which is more on the environmental side. Now, on the 0034, these are the disciplines that need to be covered. Project task order manager, architect, civil engineer, electrical engineer, mechanical engineer, structural engineer, fire protection engineer, and so on, till the 16th one, which is the cost estimator. So these are the people or the disciplines that you need to cover. And I should emphasize again that the key personnel that you select must have 5 years of experience on each of these disciplines that you're going to claim for, and also those requirements such as minimum bachelor's degree, and projects. We'll get to the projects as well, but make sure that this correlation is done properly. You probably need to create a table to make sure that you're covering all the disciplines plus all the requirements for each of the key personnel. Okay, so that was part A of factor 1. Now part B of factor 1, which is the relevant projects. It means that you need to provide 5 projects maximum for each of those key personnel, showing that they actually cover those disciplines. So you're supposed to prove that these key personnel actually know what we are claiming. And here again, I've mentioned that they need to have 5 years of experience in each of the disciplines that we claim for. In the projects that we claim for, we need to show what the role of the key personnel was, what was the project type, what was the scope, and the cost of the project. So this is something that you need to cover in each of the projects. And as I said, 5 projects maximum that you can actually provide. Do note that the projects must have been completed during the last 5 years for 0021 and last 10 years for 0034. I'm underlining completed because you can't use projects that are ongoing. So make sure that you use projects that are completed. And let's see if I covered everything. Must use the same projects here as in factor 2. So this is factor 1. Remember that when we go to factor 2, you're going to use the same projects as experience. So when you're using projects, you can't use different projects in factor 1 and factor 2. So the selection of the projects is very complex. In other words, you need to do 2 things. First, in factor 2, we'll get to it, you need to show your experience and technical capabilities. And at the same time, you need to show that your key personnel actually cover those disciplines, which is factor 1. So it's a multifaceted equation that you need to resolve to select which projects to actually use. Okay, so let's go to factor 2, specialized experience and technical competence. Obviously, since the type of the projects, the type of the 2 IDIQs is different, we're going to have different requirements here. We need to provide 10 projects. For 0021, these projects must cover these 10 areas. Now, again, it doesn't mean that we have to have 10 projects like it's listed here. You might have one project that covers 2 or 3 of these at the same time. But this is essentially what they're looking for. So project 1 says environmental impact statement, environmental assessment, environmental condition of property, master plan, area development plan, and so on. So these are the different types of requirements that the projects that you provide, the 10 projects, must cover. As I said, you might provide one project that covers 2 or 3 of these at the same time. Now for 0034, I forgot to say, let's stay on 0021. All projects must have been completed within the past 7 years. If I said 5 is 7. At least 6 of them must have been performed by the prime. In other words, if you're the prime, out of the 10 projects, 6 of them must have been performed by you. So you can't use all the projects from your subcontractors. At least 6 out of the 10 must be from you. However, in those 6, you could be prime or you could be sub. So if you've done projects as a sub, you can use those. But you need to prove that at least 50% of the project, or more than 50%, we should say 51% of that project was performed by you. So that's something to actually show in the projects. So to cap that, to round that up, 6 projects as prime, 6 projects as prime or as sub, but performed by you, in which you've done more than 51% of the project. For all the projects that you provide in this section, which is section F of part 1, you need to state the percentage of work performed by the offerer and the percentage of work performed by each of the subs. So that's something in terms of percentage of work and the amount of work that was done. If you're a JV, then you might not have the minimum 6 contracts in the name of the JV. The RFP, the solicitation is helpful here. They have allowed companies to use JV members projects. So if your JV doesn't have the 6 projects in its name, but the JV members do have projects in their name, you can use those. That's acceptable. Okay, now let's go to 0034. The list of requirements for the projects here is a little bit different from the other one. Engineering studies, investigations, tests, evaluation, consultations, comprehensive planning, drawings, new construction, renovation and repair, all the way to facility condition assessments and development of construction plans. So these are the different types of projects that the 10 projects that you cover, that you provide, must cover all these areas, these subject areas. That's in 0034. Now there again, for the projects in 0034, they need to have been done within the last 10 years. 0021 was 7 years, here is 10 years. But the same requirements stand for the 6 projects. So you need to provide 6 projects that you did 51% of it as the offer, but they can be prime or sub. You need to provide percentages. If you're a JV, you can use projects in the name of JV or projects in the name of the members of the JV. And here they've mentioned that they're going to give more weight to projects that were full design type. So that's going to get more score. Also, projects on military installations instead of other types of projects. And finally, projects that were done within the mobile district boundaries, especially Southeast. So that's important for them too. So projects outside mobile district can be used, but will get less score than the ones that might have been done within the boundaries of the mobile district. So these are the requirements for factor 2. Moving on to factor 3, work management. This is essentially to show your capabilities in the management of the projects. For 0021, we need to show the breadth, knowledge, and experience of military and federal agency policies and regulations towards NEPA and supporting studies. We need to describe implementation and preparation of master planning regulations, guidance plans, because these are very important in environmental projects. So they are very focused on those requirements. Sustainable infrastructure assessments, real property exchange, community partnership initiatives, and encroachment studies and other land management planning activities. They also want to see our quality management plan, and the quality management plan should cover quality assurance processes, project scheduling, version control management, proactive internal and external communication protocols, and independent submittal review processes. This is for cases of multiple TOs simultaneously. So this is what they're looking for in the work management under factor 3 for 0021. 0034 is similar, more or less. We need to here demonstrate breadth, knowledge, and experience of managing designs for military design and construction. And then we have to describe our corporate approach, driving criteria or potential constraints. We need to present some examples of successful performance, and then talk about our knowledge and experience on things like quality management, subcontractor management, prior experience of the prime firm and any significant consultants, in other words, subs, version control management, proactive internal and external communication protocols, and the independent submittal review process, as I mentioned, for multiple TOs. So these are the requirements for work management under factor 3. Okay, factor 4 are essentially similar for both. This is past performance, must cover projects covered in factor 2, but can go beyond. In other words, if you're providing 10 projects in factor 2, the explanations here in factor 4 must cover those, but you can also provide more information about other projects as well. Should provide CPARs as well as PPQs or even customer ratings from other project evaluation systems. So those are allowed too. The narratives should explain what your approach is to maintain success with customer satisfaction in regards to quality of work, cost control, and scheduling. So these are similar for both 0021 and 0034 for factor 4. Let's move on to factor 5, capacity to accomplish work. They want to see if you do have the capacity to do multiple simultaneous projects. So for 0021, if you're an unrestricted firm, large company, you must show that you have the capacity to perform at least 4 $1 million task orders simultaneously. If you're a small business, then you have to show that you have the capacity to perform 4 $500,000 task orders simultaneously. So that's for 0021. For 0034, unrestricted firms need to, similar to 0021, 4 projects simultaneously of $1 million or higher task orders. And then for small businesses, here you need to show that you can do 2 projects, but $1 million task orders simultaneously. So these are how you actually prove that you have the capacity to accomplish work in factor 5. And then factor 6, knowledge of locality. In other words, the district, the mobile district. 0021 and 0034 are more or less similar. You need to provide your knowledge of the locality of mobile district's AOR, area of responsibility. Describe any known features that are unusual or unique to the districts, specifically in supporting of the planning and environmental division for military civil works and support. So you need to know a little bit about that division, and then describe what you think about or what you know about the mobile division district's peculiarities and unusual points and uniqueness. The same for 0034. Here you need to go into geological features, climatic conditions, and local construction methods and things like that to show that you know and you're familiar with the mobile district's unique or unusual things. So these are issues that you need to cover in factor 6. Factor 7, if you remember, I said is just a tiebreaker. So it's not going to be evaluated unless they need to decide between 2 companies. This is essentially how well you're using small businesses and SDBs. And you need to list or the extent of participation of small businesses, small business disadvantaged businesses, historically black colleges and universities, and minority institutions. And that's essentially based on the total contract effort that you're going to give to each of these. So based on those, they're going to decide, if it's a tiebreaker, which company to actually award to. Okay, so these were the evaluation factors. Now, as we went through them, you did see that many places you do need to provide subs or partnering. And I have tried to list what you gain from partnering for each of these. If you're a small business, then this creates a strong team that gives the district and SET confidence on your ability to perform. It's really important if you're a small business to show them that you do have the capability. And one of the ways of doing that is to actually have large businesses actually under you, or other small businesses as subs. That's allowed both ways. So we do recommend that you actually do that for this. Also, you can strengthen your score on experience by use of strong subs, as you can do so the same for filling the gaps for key personnel. So factors 1 and 2 are important here. In other words, being able to provide the proper key personnel with the proper background and qualifications, as well as showing your team's experience. So both of these can be accomplished by bringing in proper partners and subcontractors. And as I mentioned, large businesses can help you in all areas, having them as subs. There's no restriction so far for bringing these large businesses as subs to your company. For large businesses who are participating, obviously having partners, including especially small businesses, can help them in different areas, including small business participation. But also, even if there are large businesses, they just might not have the proper or all key personnel that they want with local experience, for example, in mobile district. Or the qualifications. So one of the things that other companies, other subs, small businesses or large, might bring to your table is to provide key personnel with the proper qualifications. And obviously having a key personnel that has worked in the mobile district on those projects has a higher score than a key personnel who has not worked in mobile district. So these are the factors to consider when you're discussing or considering your partnering strategy. Many companies have already done that, we know of. Okay, so to sum up things, here's what we think a win strategy for this project is. Perform a gap analysis on key personnel and experience to see where you stand, and based on that, create your strategy on partnering. Now, you need to concentrate on, we think, the first 3 factors, which is essentially professional qualification of your key personnel, specialized experience, and work management. The 3 of them together will give you the highest score. So we think that you should concentrate and focus your efforts, especially on these. And out of the 3, obviously, the first one, the key personnel, are the most important factors. So you really need to work on that based on your own, as well as the partners that you bring to the table. And make sure that the projects selected for your key personnel are to the point, relevant, and cover all disciplines, are within the bounds of the requirements. This is very important. And I should add to that you should also consider the equation that you need to solve with regards to the projects that you use for your key personnel in factor 1 and the projects that you're going to use in factor 2 to prove that you do have the experience. As you remember, they have to be the same. So it's really an equation that you have to solve to make sure that you're using the best projects, best 10 projects altogether that does cover all of this. Okay, and then finally, we have mentioned that if you have not done SF330s before, I mean extensive ones, I guess all design companies have done these, but if you're not very well versed on preparing these, this is going to be an 80-page proposal. You should reach out to outside help and get some help for that. Notwithstanding that, we are suggesting all companies who want to win on this to get those SF330s reviewed by an independent body, somebody outside their organization, to make sure that they haven't made any mistakes, and especially those correlations between projects 1 and 2, factors 1 and 2 are done well. So this is essentially what we are suggesting as your win strategy. I guess here Larry can kick in and discuss some of the services we can provide.
Okay, thank you, Ab. By the way, you can see that Ab has a pretty thorough knowledge of these procurements. And by the way, I've worked with the Army Corps of Engineers, not in Mobile, but in some other parts of the country. And what Ab absolutely said is true. They look that you can provide rock stars. Also, I would suggest that in your proposal, you talk about your recruiting capabilities. So if your rock stars go somewhere else, you can replace them with even better rock stars, because the government doesn't like to be left high and dry. So, by the way, another question just came up. Can some of the personnel be consultants, or do they need to be personnel of the responding firm? And I guess that question is, do they have to be W-2s or they can be 1099s? Correct me if I'm wrong, Ab, but I think they can be 1099s. That's the way the world is on these things. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, they have to sign a commitment letter and provide that commitment letter saying that for the project, for the entire duration of the project, they would be considered an employee of the company.
Yeah, right. So let's see. Let me just go through if there's other questions here. Okay. Are there anything else that anybody wants to either bring up or whatever? Again, and I can't emphasize this enough, you have to submit a good proposal. You know, as Ab went through, you know, these are the success factors. This is what they want to see. Excellent partnering, can use big companies, can big companies use small companies? We can help with a proposal development. As Ab said, we also provide capture management, but since these are already out as an IDIQ, capture management probably should have been done a long while ago. But the point is, we can still help you write a good proposal. Again, even if you have a proposal shop, we offer the services of review and audit. I've been with big companies like Oracle and Accenture, and often they want a independent set of eyes looking at their proposal. Is there something they missed? Are they too inbred? And whatever, we can do that. We also provide staff augmentation services, subject matter experts, proposal managers, capture. In other words, what I'm saying is, come to us with you think the services and let us provide a quote for you. Even though this one's moving along fairly quickly, of course it is an IDIQ, we can turn things around pretty quickly. So you're seeing my contact information. I'm in the Washington, D.C. area, not far from Corps of Engineers headquarters, and Ab is our VP of Capture. Feel free to reach out to us. I'll return your inquiries very quickly. And again, if you need a proposal, depending on what you want, we'll turn that around quickly too. Are there any other questions, inquiries? Whoops, we're starting again. Oh, okay, here we are. Question.
Yeah, I got a few questions through email.
Okay. Go ahead.
One is that somebody has asked, do you know why they have made 0034 into draft mode? We do not. We reached out to the contracting officer, but we have not received an answer yet. We probably will know by the end of the week. why they're doing this. They're probably changing some of the scope and focus, but as far as the proposal preparation, is probably the same. So we are recommending to all clients who are working on this to actually go ahead and start preparation of the proposal. We don't think that there's very little chance of cancellation or anything like that. We just think that they're changing some of the scopes and things like that. So that's one question. Second question was when are the questions due? I think I did cover that in one of the slides. The questions are due on the 24th of October, but this is for 0021, obviously, as 0034 is still in the draft mode, and they will probably extend that. But for 0021, you need to get all the questions in before the 24th of October to get that. One other question I have is how many projects can we provide to prove that our key personnel cover the disciplines? 5. The maximum that you can provide is 5. So you need to provide 5 to show that the key personnel actually did cover the disciplines that you're claiming. And as I said, you might say that the key personnel might cover 2, 3, or 4 of those disciplines, but then you have to show in those maximum 5 projects that they did actually do something like that, and they have to have 5 years of experience in each of those disciplines that you claim for. So these are the questions I received.
One other question, Ab, how do we go about teaming with any of the companies on the call? I guess I can answer that, or you can answer that. Why don't you take it?
Yeah, I mean, we are helping companies, both primes and subs. If you're a sub and would like to be a prime, we would like to be the sub of a prime on this project, just let us know. And if any of the subs, if any of the primes reach out to us and ask for subs, we'll just put your hands in their hand. It's a free system that we have. So this is to both primes and subs. If you're looking for partnering, let us know and we'll help you.
And by the way, that goes for other procurements as well. And again, this is Mobile Corps of Engineers, but I think they have at least 6 or 8 other districts in the lower 48 alone. So
Exactly.
plenty of good stuff going on with them. They always have a lot of money.
Exactly.
Very important. Another question came in. Does an SF-330 personnel need to be working together in the past projects, specifically to be in the SF-330 matrix? I'm not sure I understand that question. Do you, Ab?
No, but if you mean that, for example, you're providing 10 key personnel, and if the question is all 10 must have worked together, no. No, that's not the case. They don't need to have worked together. However, there is a catch to it, because you need to provide projects to show that they actually work together, and then that number of projects is limited to 10. So at the end, and you want to show, you have a maximum number of 5 per person. If you do the math, you'll see that you can't have that many projects that each of them work separately. And of course, I'm sure that the Corps of Engineers is going to look into projects and give more favorable points in which 2, 3, or 4 of those key personnel worked at the same time. It's not a requirement. So to come back to your question, it's not a requirement that's spelled out specifically in the RFP, but it's quite clear that if you can show that, for example, you did 10 projects in which all the key personnel were involved in them, you will get more score than a company that comes back and shows different projects in which 1 or 2 only of these key personnel were, involved in. So I hope I've answered your question.
Anything else? Again, after Ab's presentation, if you go through the specific requirements again and the proposal, if additional questions come up, We're here to try to answer them. Anything else?
Okay,
Okay.
Ben.
I think we've ended a little early. Thank you again on behalf of GDI Consulting for being on. We hope to hear from you on this and other procurements that you may be looking at. And all I can say is the new fiscal year is here, and I've heard rumors around that there'll be plenty of IT money around this fiscal year, and so that's always a good sign. So thank you very much, and have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. And just reminder that the replay of this webinar will be sent to you automatically within 24 hours in case you want to pass it along or hear it again. Thank you so much and have a great day.